I don't have any pretense of changing the world with my books. My goal is to entertain, to give readers a few hours to relax, to get involved with the lives of other people, even if they're fictional characters. But even the goal of entertaining, there is a truth in commercial fiction, that the good guys can win, that there are heroes in the world, that justice will be served, that in the fight of good versus evil, good has the edge. I love stories of everyday heroes. I love stories of ordinary people who find themselves in extraordinary situations and rise to the occasion. People turn to fictional narrative as a way to make sense of our troubled world. We don't live for the news. Facebook and Twitter can't satisfy our longing for human connections. Why do we log into Facebook each day? To find out what people are doing. We want to understand their individual narrative. In fact, we live for stories. It's the story we turn to at the end of the day when we're unwinding, whether it's listening to our children recount what happened at school, watching television, or reading a book. It's the story we crave after a hard day at work. I am flying out here on the short leg of my trip. I had to change planes in Phoenix. I was sitting next to this girl named Dominique. She's 23. She just graduated from college, and she had lost her job after 2 years and was moving to North Carolina with her boyfriend. So we were chatting. Usually I put on like headphones and, write. And because if you have headphones on, people don't talk to you on planes or anywhere really. But it was a short trip. It was early in the morning, so I was just kind of vegging. And so we ended up chatting. And it turned out, she found out I was a writer, and she said, I've always wanted to write a book. And I said, well, you just got to sit down and write it. Writers write. And she told me, I said, do you know what you want to write? And she says, yes, urban fiction. And then she told me that her mom was the second oldest girl of 17 kids. That her grandmother, who had died a long time ago, basically had never been married, had 17 kids, lived in South Central Los Angeles, and her mom pulled herself out of that life and ended up working for a school district for 30 years and had just retired when she graduated from college. And I'm like thinking, wow, she goes, I just have stories to tell. And I said, I think you need to tell them. I said, find somebody, a writing group that encourages you. Don't ever be around negative people and just sit down and write. And if it's not perfect, it's not perfect. You never know. She goes, well, my mom has always told me to write. She always thought I was a good writer. I said, well, then you should do it for your mom. Because if you can't do it for yourself, you got to do it for your mom. But it's that kind of personal connection that I really, really enjoy, because you realize everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. Why do we watch the same movie over and over again? Think about your favorite feel-good movie, the movie you never tire of watching, the movie that you stick in the DVD player when you're feeling disconnected or not yourself, the one that always gets you back. I have several go-to movies. The original Star Wars came out when I was 8. Like I said, my son is Luke. I've seen it over 100 times. In fact, I remember once when I was babysitting, this was back in the 1980s when not everybody had a VCR and there were no DVDs, and I was babysitting for a wealthy family who had one kid, and they had a VCR, and they owned Star Wars. I mean, this was like 1982. You did not own. I loved babysitting for them. One, they paid really well, and two, I could watch Star Wars every single time I babysat because they had a baby. He slept the whole time. It was great. I'd hold him and watch Star Wars. Anyway, but the thing is, it really, really informed me. I was 8 years old. I was very impressionable. It was unlike anything I had ever seen up to that point. There was tragedy, duty, honor, bravery, love, sacrifice, good guys and bad guys. And every time I watch it, I remember being a kid and seeing it for the first time. And that's why I watch it over and over again. And when I showed it to my kids for the first time, it was like watching it through their eyes. French Kiss is my favorite romantic comedy. Sometimes I just need a good love story, and preferably one that will make me laugh. I'm a sucker for Pixar movies, like Toy Story, which are essentially about friendship. And I would be seeing Finding Dory today if I was home, but my kids would shoot me if I saw it without them. And a recent movie I saw 3 times in the movie theater, that means paying for it 3 times, was Guardians of the Galaxy. And I have no idea why. I just couldn't get it out of my head. Was it the characters? Was it the actors? Was it the special effects? Was it the story of the orphan who grows up to be a criminal and learns he has a higher calling? I don't know, but I bought the DVD when it came out. But the one movie that I watch every single year at Christmas, as I'm sure many people here do, It's a Wonderful Life. Because it reminds me, usually when I need it the most, that we are all connected, that we don't know how many lives we touch on a daily basis, who we help, those small things we do that we don't even think about. The choice to open a door for an elderly woman that may have given her faith in chivalry when she had lost hope. The smile we give to a coworker who, unbeknownst to us, just found out her mother was ill. The note we write one day for our child and stick in their lunchbox, something we haven't done since the first day of kindergarten, that gets them through a fight with their best friend. It's the story of It's a Wonderful Life that touches me and reminds me that it's the small things that are greater than the whole. And I think it's something I need to hear often. If someone tells me it's the little things that matter, it doesn't connect. But in the context of a story that draws me in through both thought and emotion, I know it. Stories are not an escape from reality. I'd argue that they are a confirmation of reality, of our truths, and of hope. Stories strive to make sense of the world around us, preferably in an entertaining way. Stories make us uniquely human. Rest assured, I do not take my job lightly. But my goal with each and every book is to tell a better story. I want my readers to be entertained first and foremost, and to think about everyday heroes, because those are the people I most like to write about. I may lead a boring life, but my characters certainly do not.
People ask me what it's like to be a writer, and I describe it thusly. Say, imagine taking a bucket and placing it over your head. Now you will headbutt a wall. One day, either the wall will fall down or you will fall down. The end. That's it. Who can you stand there and keep trying to hit the wall with your head? You can or you can't. And eventually you either fall down or the wall does, and sometimes success is just the act of staying in the game long enough. Because persevering teaches you things. You learn just by being present and just by doing and just by hanging in there. Just by doing the work day in and day out is how you both learn and prove your mettle. But this, like so many proclamations, is one of those easier said than done things. Just keep on hanging on. Weather the storm of imposter syndrome and all those endless rejections and the howling wolves of self-doubt and the fear and the uncertainty. And all while the very ground of the publishing industry shifts beneath our feet in one tectonic shudder after another. So how, then, do you persevere? And here, I'm going to give you the real secret, the only way through the frustration, the path to perseverance, and my final lesson. This is the only secret. I want you to care less. We step up to the blank page, this snowy tract of tabula rasa, this unfinished manuscript, hasn't been touched by a fingerprint or a footprint. And the potential of that single book and then the career we expect beyond it can overwhelm us. Our stories are sort of like our children. We want the very best for them. We hope that they'll go out into the world and that they'll change it. Maybe they'll change us. Maybe one day they'll allow us to actually make a living and afford cool things like hot tubs and pet giraffes. Trust me, once I make some sweet money, I'm getting a giraffe. But we are often trapped in this wordless exhortation of terror and anxiety. And how do you get past it? You care less. I am not saying not to care at all. I am saying that you probably care too much. And that sounds like strange, even terrible advice, because we enter this thing because, as I note, we love it. We love it deeply. We love the act of telling stories. We love the act of putting words after one another to tell those stories. It is who we are. It's what we want for ourselves and for our lives. A fellow author friend of mine, Gail Carriger, said that for her, writing is like breathing. But have you ever really thought about breathing? Have you ever thought really hard about any of your autonomic processes? Thinking about something too hard, being panicked about, am I getting enough breath, is a very good way to ensure that you are most certainly not getting enough breath. If you think too hard about breathing, and it will become hard to breathe. If you think too hard about writing, it will become hard to write. You are not curing cancer. You're not disarming a time bomb. You're not racing Hans Gruber at the top of Nakatomi Plaza. This is not Die Hard, as awesome as it would be if this were all Die Hard right now. The greatest risk to writing is your time and admittedly also your sanity, but the fact that you chose writing as a career suggests you're probably already at least half cuckoo pants anyway, so forget that. But writing is one of those few careers where you can take as much time as you need to make it work. You get a nearly infinite number of do-overs and takebacks, deadlines aside. You get your first draft, which is basically just a beach storming draft, and then you get as many drafts as you want to get it right. You can free yourself by caring less. You can lessen the pressure. Stop putting so much expectation on yourself.